This is Abhishek Singh from Gradeup IAS team, and my dear friends, today we are going to discuss a very important topic that is required for your smart preparation for the UPSC and the state PSC examinations, right? That is the India through the eyes of the foreigners. I hope my voice is clearly audible to all of you. I am clearly visible to all of you. Hello everyone out there. Yes, I hope I am clearly audible to you, right? Hello. Yes. Very good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So, dear friends, today we are going to discuss a very important topic, that is India through the eyes of the foreigners. My dear friends, India has always been a great land of fascination, right? A great land of fascination, the fantasy, the stories, the riches and everything, right? So whosoever actually goes to see the story of India, observes that the India has always been a land of their dreams. Okay, for example, if we name the Megasthenes, okay, if we name Megasthenes, if we name the people like Ptolemy, right, then we name the people like Pliny the Elder. All right. So, however, these Ptolemy and Pliny the Elder, they did not ever visit India, by the way. But what happened that they actually described about India. All right, they actually described about India. So therefore, we shall look at the way they have described. We shall look at the ways that the foreigners have visited and seen India. All right, we are going to see all of those things. Okay, so let us start. Let us get started with the today's lecture. Okay. See, here first of all, I'd like to tell you that India, actually, as I told you in the beginning itself, has been a fascinating country. You can you recognize some of these faces, some of these travelers' faces, or can you tell me that to which country, to which land do they belong to? If you can, then can you tell me this, that he might be, or these two individuals might be the Chinese travelers. All right, Chinese travelers, especially this fellow, right? You may see the Fahian. Okay, sorry, Fahian. Pardon, this is the spelling. So Fahian, and if we see this one, he might be a European. Simply with the attire, one can recognize their culture, with the cultural association. Okay, so he might be a European. If we see these individuals, they might be the Arab travelers. All right, they might be the Arab travelers. So, my dear friends, we will observe the each and every major region from where the people used to come and visit India. Especially, we would observe the foreign travelers as well as the writers, right? They have both written about the Indian subcontinent, about the wealth of India, customs, traditions, and they have left a rich source of history for us. Okay, so what happens that the source of history, when we talk about, we always understand, right? We always should understand that the textbooks or the literature written by the foreigners becomes a very important source. All right, becomes a very important source of the information about history. For example, if we take an example, let us see. If you take an example, then we can have that. We can have that example that visitor called Al-Biruni. I think you might have heard the name. All right, Al-Biruni, he was the one who described the correct timeline about the Gupta reign, and that was possible because of his book called Kitab al-Hind. Okay, so these are the useful you can say contributions of the foreign travelers who visited India. Okay, so we should always see that the travelers, we can divide the travelers on the basis of the timeline, and also on the basis of the region of their origin, of their belonging. Okay, so the travelers, they were basically the ancient travelers or the medieval travelers. If we have to just classify them, we can classify them in the ancient or the medieval travelers. Okay, and apart from that, we can also classify them from the region, that is European or the Arab or Chinese travelers. Mainly these three regions have been there from where the people have traveled the India. Okay, so we should first of all see that who were the European travelers. All right, I'll just beg your pardon, just a second. All right, just a second, my dear friends. Okay. Pardon. Yes, sorry, there was some technical glitch in between, so I had to cover it up. So if you see the European travelers, all right, so the ancient travelers, the medieval travelers, my dear friends, if we see first of all from the point of view of this examination, okay, from the point of view of the examination, if we observe, we usually get a lot of questions, especially from the travelers, especially when we see that the NCERT, right, NCERT in its themes of history, that is a new NCERT. Okay, so the themes of history, the first chapter itself gives about travelers, because the travelers, they form that important source of history. Okay, so ancient travelers from Europe. However, there have been many other travelers also, but I have simply enlisted a few very important ones. For example, Megasthenes. Who was he? Everyone knows. He was the envoy of Seleucus Nicator. Okay, and who was Seleucus Nicator? He was the commander of Alexander, who later started ruling the areas of Bactria. Okay, Bactria, that is in the northern Afghanistan and the Central Asian region. So he started ruling that area, and he was ruling in fact a large area. But in the fight with Chandragupta Maurya, okay, in the fight with Maurya that took place in 305 BC, what happened that Seleucus was defeated by Chandragupta. So he sent his envoy. As a part of the treaty between the two. The other things you might be knowing that the matrimonial relation was established between the two dynasties, as well as they were also you can say the exchange of the other properties. For example, Chandragupta Maurya had shared the elephants, right, the 600 elephants, in lieu of which he had got the area of the today's Hindu Kush Valley. Okay, so that was a different thing, but he actually describes in detail. About the Magad Empire, and especially about the administration of Patliputra. Right. So if we are to read the history of Patliputra, we must refer to Megasthenes' account. Megasthenes' book was called Dika. Okay. Now, Demachus. So Demachus, my dear friends, he was the ambassador He was the ambassador, Syrian ambassador, who came to the court of Bindusar. Okay, Bindusar was son of Chandragupta Maurya. So we can say that these two were early European travelers, early European visitors. Okay. If we name Ptolemy, he was not a visitor, but still I have mentioned his name under the travelers list only because to say that he had traveled extensively. In fact, Geographica, right, that is translated as geography. This was the name of his book, right? And if we see that what was mentioned about India, so he has described, vividly about India. But yes, the informations are not that correct. Informations are not that you can say authentic. But still, it shows that they were having certain interest in the Indian issues, Indian matters. All right. So moving to the medieval travelers from Europe. Now we should simply, and I have just listed the names because I will tell you the information about these individuals verbally. So if you are listening to the live classes, if you are listening to the live video, then kindly make sure that you are sitting with a proper pen and paper so that you can take out, you can just point certain notes if you are thinking it is required, right? If you are thinking that it is required. So first of all, Marco Polo. So he was a Venetian traveler, right? The Venetia, or the Venice, the Merchant of Venice. I think there is a famous literature called Merchant of Venice. You might have seen that. So the Marco Polo was basically a Venetian that is in Italy, and he followed the famous, my dear friend, very important information. This is, he followed a very famous, the Silk Route. Okay, Silk Route. So where is the Silk Route, my dear friends? If you have seen the maps, okay, if you have seen the maps, then you can definitely understand that the route that comes from the Eurasian, on the sides of the Caspian Sea and moves to the Turkmenistan and comes south, and from Afghanistan moves to the Leh Ladakh and then enters the China. Okay, so that was the ancient Great Silk Route through which the Marco Polo had traveled, and he had in fact visited on his return journey, not while coming to China. His main, you can say, goal was to visit China, but while returning, he chose to visit the three southern kingdoms. Okay, so he chose that Malay archipelago. Then he just landed on the Indian shores, and thereon he took the land route and traveled from Arab to Europe. Okay, so this is important information about Marco Polo. Okay, then Niccolo Conti, another very famous traveler, Niccolo di Conti. He was also Italian traveler who visited in 1420 AD. Can any one of you, my dear friends, can any one of you tell me that who was the ruler of the Vijayanagara Empire when he visited the Vijayanagar? Anyone can? Yes, some of you may try. If you do not remember, then let me tell you, it was Devaraya first. All right, it was Devaraya first, during whose reign Niccolo di Conti had visited Vijayanagar. Okay, and the next medieval traveler, very important medieval traveler, was Nikitin. Dear friends, let me tell you one thing, that the Vijayanagar Empire, actually it was a very prosperous, right, a very vast, you can say, in the terms of richness, so it attracted a lot of foreign travelers. In fact, we can have a series, we can have a lecture on YouTube, especially for the travelers, or for the, you can say, the heritage of Vijayanagar. All right, so what is your opinion about that? If you want that we should hold a lecture, we should conduct a lecture especially about the Vijayanagar, So you should mention that down in the comment section below. Okay. So let us understand about Nikitin. Nikitin, my dear friends, was a Russian merchant. Okay. Nikitin was a Russian merchant. Okay. So he wrote a very famous book called The Journey Beyond the Three Seas. Okay, you should remember the name, Journey Beyond Three Seas. So dear friends, those who are preparing for exams such as the UPSC or the state PSCs, etc., or even the SSC examination, so we should understand that these are certain informations which are equally important for all the examinations. Why so? Because if the UPSC asks the question, the UPSC will ask the same question in different way. That is, consider the following statements about Vijayanagar Empire. Right, this is the question of UPSC. Consider the following statements about the Vijayanagar Empire. And statements will be like, it prospered between Krishna and Tungabhadra rivers. Second statement will be like, it was visited by a Russian traveler named Niccolo Conti. They will change the name. Okay. So you will have to know, you will have to understand whether the name, the Niccolo Conti, or the name was Nikitin. Okay. So this is how they utilize the factual information to make the questions in UPSC as well as to make the questions in the state PSCs also. All right. So this is how they utilize the information. Fine. So Nikitin, I told you about his book, and where did he belong to? He belonged to Russia. Fine. Then Barbosa and Nunes, right? Barbosa and Nunes were both Portuguese travelers, my dear friends. And see the timeline. This is very important. Timeline. Because when we study about the Portuguese advent in India, we understand that about 1510 AD, they had reached up to Goa. All right. So when they reached to Goa, it was very convenient for them to visit the Vijayanagar Empire. All right. So Barbosa and they both visit the Vijayanagar Empire. Barbosa visited during the rule of Krishnadev Rai. So sometimes, my dear friends, questions are asked that which traveler was contemporary to which famous ruler, which famous king. So this is how also you have to prepare the subject so that you can compare the both the things. So here Barbosa was contemporary of, or say a visitor in the court of Krishnadev Rai. Okay. And if we call about the Nunes, he was visited by, or visited, he visited in the court of Achyut Dev Rai. All right, Achyut Dev Rai. So we should understand that despite the information that which traveler visited which state, we should also understand the importance of the contemporary famous rulers. Okay. So one can also say that Barbosa was also contemporary to Sikandar Lodi in India. Ibrahim Lodi in India, my dear friends. Okay. So you should be having a broad perspective while preparing for our subjects, while preparing for any topic, because this is the specialty that UPSC needs from you. Now, John Huygens von Linson. So who is he? John Huygens von Linson, right? Actually, he was a Dutch traveler, right? He was a Dutch traveler who traveled in the later half of 16th century and described about the life of South India. So many times it happens that the foreign travelers, foreign travelers, they were much interested. They were more interested in the socio-economic life of the people. The question, suppose if the question was is asked that discuss the importance of the travel accounts of the Arab and Chinese travelers. All right, this was the UPSC's question asked in the previous years. That is, discuss the importance of the travel accounts of Chinese and Arab travelers. They may also ask the same thing about the European travelers. All right. So we should always understand that which are the important things, that they always show more interest in the socio-economic history, the socio-economic life of the people. And therefore, what happens? And therefore, it becomes naturally important for the history of the people when we understand, when we study about it. All right. So, William Hawkins, let us see the another European traveler. And I think from here onwards, you might have heard all the very famous names. William Hawkins, who was he? He was ambassador of King James I, okay? James I at the court of Jahangir. And he came in 1608 AD. So what was the importance? Why did he come? The important thing was, which is I have not mentioned here, that is important thing was that he wanted to get the trade permit. All right, trade permit for establishing a factory at Surat. All right, factory at Surat. So he did not get that permit, my dear friends. In many places it is mentioned, it is actually also told by certain teachers that the factory was established at Surat by the permission of Jahangir. That is incorrect information, right? Jahangir did permit to create a factory, but his subordinate at the Surat, his governor at Surat had permitted it. However, when Jahangir knew it, that the British were raising the factory, British were making their settlements, he got enraged and that permission was withdrawn and that factory was destroyed. Therefore, when it came to establish their first legitimate factory, my dear friends, then British established the first legitimate factory at Masulipatam. However, if the option is Surat also, if it is in options, then you can write it down. But the correct answer, the most correct answer will be in 1611 at Masulipatam. That is the accurate thing, right? But if we see that in Mughal Empire, my dear friends, Masulipatam was not the part of Mughal Empire, okay, during the reign of Jahangir. So in the Mughal Empire, if they wanted to establish a factory, they had to get the permission. So the British King James I, he was the king only, so he sent another ambassador named Thomas Roe. And when did he come to India? He came in 1615 and arrived at the court of Jahangir, and after giving a lot of gifts and everything, he finally received the permission. Permission to what? Permission to establish the trading factories. All right. So this was about Thomas Roe. Now the next traveler was Francisco Palsar. Okay, we do not pronounce this RT. It's simply Francisco, or say Franci Palsar. Okay, it is pronounced like that. So why was he important? He was a very important traveler because he actually visited the Mughal Empire and did not describe much in detail about the political things, but about the trade, about the prosperity of India. So if we know about that India during the Mughal rule was prospering in its trade and commerce, was prospering in the foreign associations. So why was it so, or how do we know that? We know that by the accounts or the works compiled by the Francis Palissy, okay, and had described about the various cities, especially on the west and northwestern India. Can you tell me that why did he describe about Lahore, Multan, and why not about Delhi or Agra or some other cities like that? Any reason? Can any one of you tell me that? Yes. See, the logic goes that it is the time of 1620 to 1627, my dear friends. And if we have the remembrance of this timeline, we should understand that it was the timeline of Jahangir. Okay, Jahangir. He ruled from 1605 to 1628. All right. So for that time period, Jahangir had actually, or Jahangir had in fact in practical ruled from Lahore. So whenever a foreign traveler, a foreign ambassador or merchant comes at a certain, at the court of certain ruler, he definitely pays a visit to the ruler. And therefore, when he visited main cities, he visited Lahore and nearby Multan. But his main aim was to analyze and to describe about the trading centers of India. Okay. So I hope it is clear to you that just in the names there are a lot of informations, there are a lot of other interesting things we should know. Okay. And here is another traveler called Peter Mundi. All right, Peter Mundi. Peter Mundi was Italian traveler and a very famous traveler also, because he describes about the life of Mansabdars, describes about the construction of Taj Mahal. Okay, construction of Taj Mahal. So what happens that Shah Jahan was ruling from 1628 to 1658. All right. So Shah Jahan saw that Peter Mundi, saw that Peter Mundi, who was an Italian traveler, visited his court, and Shah Jahan had officially, he was officially handed over, my dear friend, this is a very unique information that you should know. He was officially handed over the royal documents, royal documents for writing the glory of his empire. Okay, so this is why he was an important traveler to Shah Jahan's court, and he had, he had described a lot of things that they have, they have been living in the life of the riches. In fact, myself have studied a story about the life of a Mansabdar in my childhood. So I can share that with you, that it was like a Mansabdar's average salary in those eras was 30,000 rupees. Okay, and in such a time they were getting 30,000 rupees when one share of rice, you can say rupee, 1 rupiah could purchase 40 share of rice. This was the standard of living. This was the scale of getting remuneration during the Mughal times, especially for the Mansabdars, for the people who were living in the court. All right, but it was not the same thing, my dear friends, for the common people. So Mundi, apart from glorifying the empire, has also described about the common people's living standard. All right, so therefore the accounts written by Peter Mundi becomes much more important. All right, so Jean Baptiste Tavernier. He has been a favorite, consistent favorite of the UPSC and the UPPCS or other state PSCs also. Repeatedly has been asked in the exams. And we should know that he was a French traveler, and French traveler who lived in the contemporary times of Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. Alright, so moving to the other travelers. Nicola Manucci. Nicola Manucci. He was the Italian traveler. Okay, the name itself is telling that he was an Italian traveler and contemporary of Aurangzeb. However, initially he served Dara Shikoh also. Dara Shikoh, who was he? Dara Shikoh was eldest brother of Aurangzeb. Alright, and eldest son of Shah Jahan. Alright, so why is Dara Shikoh famous? Because of his great attitude, because of his you can say tolerant nature and respectful behavior towards the followers of other religions as well, because he was also a follower of Sufism. Okay, follower of Sufism, and he had a great knowledge of Sanskrit, great knowledge of Indian philosophies, and had also translated the Upanishads in Persian, right? So he was a great, you can say, probable ruler who could not get the opportunity to rule, and instead of him, Aurangzeb got the ruling power. Now, the Franco Bernier, right? Franco Bernier. He was a doctor, French doctor and philosopher. And if one may remember that, if one may have seen in the certain description, this Franco Bernier, all right, he was in the court of Bahadur Shah first. Okay, he was in the court of Bahadur Shah first. Also, his father Aurangzeb. So he was the one, his accounts become very, very important, because he was the one who saw the demise or the decline of the Mughal Empire. Alright, so why is Franco Bernier important? Because he describes about the Mughal Empire decline. Alright, so the other traveler was Gemelli Carreri, right? Gemelli Carreri, that means he was also an Italian traveler. Okay, Italian traveler, but his works are more important to know about the military organization and administration. Fine. So till now we have seen a lot of Europeans traveling the India. Can any one of you tell me that why do Europeans travel so much to India? What was the reason? Some reasons I may list down here. That first reason was to know about its glory and prosperity. Then, as I told you that India was a land of fascination for them. So they wanted to see the life of East. Right? They were natural travelers, right? And third, which was again a very important reason, wanted to have learning and working, or say jobs opportunities. Alright, so some of them came to India for learning purpose, some of them came to India to serve the court of the royal princely states, rulers, etc. So there may be different reasons for their travel to India. Now, moving to the Arab and Persian travelers. Arab and Persian travelers. Suleiman Saudagar. He was the first such Arab traveler. Alright, the first such Arab traveler about whose recorded information, about whose written information is available. Alright, so he was the one who visited in the 8th century, towards the end of the 8th century, and therefore describes about the Pal and Pratihar rulers in their initial phase. Okay, in their initial phase. However, if we see the next traveler, Al-Masudi, alright. So before going to Al-Masudi, let me also tell you one very important thing, that Suleiman Saudagar was the one who actually had mentioned about the ports of Gujarat in vivid detail, my dear friends. Vivid details. He had described that Gujarat ports are enormously safe, they are extensively large and prosperous. So this is why he was called as Saudagar, because his prime motive was to come and explore the trading opportunities in India. Right? Traveling was secondary, traveling was purposed at trading. Then Al-Masudi described about the tripartite era. So I think you might be knowing that Suleiman and Masudi, right, both of them, they have described about the tripartite era. That is about, let me tell you, tripartite means the Rashtrakutas, the Palas and Pratiharas. Okay, so these three dynasties were described about from the Arab traveler Suleiman and another Arab traveler Al-Masudi. But the most famous Arab traveler was Abu Rihan or Al-Baruni. Okay, Al-Baruni. So when did he visit India? He visited India in 11th century. All right. In 10th century, pardon, 10th century. So he visited India in 10th century, okay, but at the very end of it, so therefore I had written 11, so you should not get confused, because he visited India with Mahmud Ghaznavi, alright, Mahmud Ghaznavi. And when did Ghaznavi visited India? Towards the very end of the 10th century, that is first time 997 AD, and then from 1001 up to 1027, right? He kept on attacking India repeatedly, and he was the one who had just visited in the beginning of 11th. So you can write down 11th century, and you should not get confused with 10th, right? So just write down the beginning of, or the first decade of the 11th century. Alright. Why was he famous? Famous for a very great compilation called Kitab al-Hind. Here he has described, I think some of you who might have studied the NCERT, you might be knowing that he had called Indians closed-minded and arrogant people. Right? Closed-minded and arrogant people. He said that Indians, they don't think that anywhere else in the world the people have knowledge. Right? They try to hide their knowledge. They don't share with the people. So this is the, actually, you can say, the attitude of the contemporary society which he has described in his book. Alright. So another famous traveler was Ibn Battuta. Alright, Ibn Battuta was a Moroccan traveler and also famous for getting appointed as Chief Qazi. Chief Qazi, pronounced as Qazi, Okay, and the court of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. All right, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So he actually traveled India in 1333 AD, and has mentioned about the Tughlaq Empire in detail in his book called Kitab al-Rihla, or simply Rihla. Fine. So this is the information about Ibn Battuta. And not only India, but he just kept on traveling and traveling, and he returned home after 20 years since he had left. So this was you can say a great challenge to him, which all the records, which all the you can say documented record of his travels are mentioned in this book called Kitab al-Rihla, or the Book of East. Okay. Now Abdul Razzaq, he was a Persian traveler, particularly Persian merchant he was, and he visited Vijayanagar in 15th century, again during the reign of Devaraya II. Okay. Now, my dear friends, Chinese travelers. So the most well-known, the most famous foreign traveler, if we get to hear these names. All of you must have an idea. Fahyang, right? Huensang and Itzing. Fahyang was contemporary of Chandragupta, Vikramaditya. All right, Chandragupta, Vikramaditya, and he was Chinese Buddhist monk who had come to India, right? Who had come to India to learn about Buddhism. So, can anyone tell me that to which place he might have visited? Like to learn Buddhism in India in those times, like in around 400 AD, To which places would he have gone? Anyone can attempt? Was it Nalanda, Takshila, or any other place? Because the Somapuri etc. were too new. In fact, the answer should be simply Takshila, and not only to learn but also to collect the remains of God Buddha. So he kept on traveling. All right, kept on traveling various Buddhist pilgrim sites. All right. So Nalanda, the question is in fact wrong, because Nalanda, that was much later, established by Kumar Gupta. All right, Kumar Gupta as a monastery. So there is no question at all that Fahyang should visit Nalanda University. It was not possible because it was already not there. Okay, so we should have this idea that he visited to travel the Buddhist pilgrim sites to take the holy remains of Lord Buddha and some of his famous disciples. Right? Now the second traveler was Huensang, and he came in the reign of Harshvardhan. All right, reign of Harshvardhan. But let me tell you one very important thing that you should know, that Huensang was not only the member, or not only had visited the court of Harshvardhan, but was also a visitor to the court of many rulers, including Pulakeshin II. All right, including Narsingvarman first, including Bhaskar Varman of Assam, right, and also the Kingdom of Kashmir. So he was the one, right? Huensang was the one who wrote very famous record CUK, all right, and he was the one who lived as a student in India and had come to India to study Buddhism, to know about Buddhism at Nalanda, right? He was a visitor to Nalanda Mahavihar. So this is another very important information that you should know about Huensang, apart from his tenure, his contemporary, and the rulers whose he had visited. Okay. Then Itsing, he came after the death of Harshvardhan and has described about the contemporary society. All right. So this is the information about the Chinese travelers. So my dear friends, in today's lecture we saw that a lot of foreigners have visited India. I have simply mentioned a very few of them because it is not manually possible to enlist all of them, to describe about all of them, right? So I hope you would have enjoyed this particular lecture. You would have enjoyed watching this intentional video about the foreign travelers brought to you by the Gradeup IAS team. All right. So here, my dear friends, I am going to tell you about the programs that we are running for you simply at Gradeup Super, right? And at Gradeup Super, you get the unlimited access of the 11+ structured live courses of 60+ mock tests for UPSC Civil Services exams and EPFO examination, right? So currently, my dear friends, we are having the IAS 2021, the comprehensive course for GS, that is pre-cum mains course, available in both languages, English and Hindi. And for those who are having their basics a little bit weak, for them the NCERT module in both languages, English and Hindi. All right. So various upcoming courses are also there. For example, UPSC EPFO 2020, right? And the Economic and Social Development, that is for IAS, Indian and World Geography for the IAS, Environment and Ecology, Polity and Governance, and History of India and Indian National Movement. That is something that I will be taking up in upcoming videos, right? So General Science is also there, and we have also got a very beneficial free series on the Gradeup application, under which you get several free lectures, free of cost videos, informational and very useful for all the examinations, including banking, UPSC, and law exams, and UP and other state examinations also. All right. Gradeup also offers you a Prepare tab, right? The Prepare tab has got all the courses which are beneficial to, and that is actually very much useful for all the students. Apart from that, we have got also the daily editorial analysis. We have also got the series of important topics every day on 8 p.m. And for the UPSC EPFO, the important topics come on every day 5 p.m. and the daily basis current affairs at the end of the day at 9 p.m. All right. And this particular channel where you are watching my video, all right, this free classes of YouTube channel, here we are on every day, right, 1 p.m. we are concerned about the topics of the UPSC 2021. So today's lecture was a part of the topic related to the foreign travelers, all right, foreign travelers and their accounts. All right, so I hope my lecture would have given you substantial, in-depth and substantial information about the foreign travelers who came to India or who have written about India. And so this is all for today's guys. This is all for today. If you have liked the video, kindly do share it, kindly give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Gradeup IAS channel, right? Thank you so much guys. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks a lot.